You will sleep better than you have ever slept. You've never been this relaxed. Are you ready to change your life? I'm Rusty Diamond, certified hypnotist. You don't need to leave your house. You can stay in your bed. You can stay in your favorite chair. You just need a computer or your phone. You can get a hold of me. Stay at home. I'll make your life better.
Hypnosisisgreat.com.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Boom, Miss Rusty. What is up, everyone? It is Friday. I was saying yesterday was Wednesday, but yesterday was Thursday. So that's what's up. Welcome to the podcast, the public access podcast here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. Coming to you live from Pennsylvania, the podcast, because PA, Pennsylvania, I got to make the same joke every show. So thank you everyone for being here and listening. If you're listening here, if you're watching, if you just like, I wonder what that guy looks like, you can look on YouTube or on Rumble. I'll be there. Or if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble and you're like, fuck, I like this guy's voice, but I don't want to look at his face, then you can go to basically anywhere you listen to podcasts and you'll find the public access podcast. So thank you, everyone. And I'm here to bring on my special guest right here, right now. And my special guest right here, right now is Lainne Love. How you doing? Thank you for being
Amazing.
here.
I'm giggling a little bit from your intro. I've listened to it on the podcast, but I've never seen the visual part, and I love it. It's so fun.
Thank you. I've had that for a while and I haven't got to use it nearly as much. I don't know why I didn't. I've had it sitting and yeah. Um I don't know. I like getting to make my own stuff for the most part, except for when it has to do with editing of these shows. But the rest of it I enjoy. So um I don't know. I feel like I need to make a commercial again though. Some sort of commercial.
It's
And
fun. Yeah,
yeah,
I really loved it. And hypnosis
thank you.
is great. I am an RTT
It is.
therapist, so
Oh,
that
okay.
involves hypnotherapy as well.
How'd you get into that line of work?
It all just comes together. So, well, for
Okay.
me anyway, I've always been interested in alternative health. And then I started somewhere. I started with traditional Chinese medicine because I had lived in Asia.
Oh,
And then I
okay.
studied shiatsu because I really loved that it incorporated Western and Eastern thought. So I got to learn like physiology, anatomy, and bioethics, along with traditional Chinese medicine and a lot about the meridians.
Was that in China?
So I lived in Taiwan after high school. I got to do so many fun things because this was a long time ago before like the
5 years ago?
huge influx.
Six
Yes, yeah,
6 years
5 years ago.
ago? Okay.
And I did so many cool things. I worked for Bungee International. So I was the person that was hooking you up to go jump off of bridges and cliffs. And it was that was fun. And I got to also do some modeling, which was great. I did a Donna Karen show and a Dolce & Gabbana show.
What was that like?
Oh man, I think that many a girl dreams about doing that. I know I did. And I was certainly glad that I got to live that experience. And it wasn't for me. I had to work really hard. I'm sure that all the ladies do. They have to work really hard, but I wasn't necessarily that like physical shape. I had to work really, really hard for it. So I didn't want to do all the hard work. So I didn't want to not eat and just spend my life in the gym. That was my reality. That might not be everybody's, but that was my reality. And so after a year, I just stopped doing it.
And then was that when you got into uh, shiatsu or other different things, or was there some sort of buffer time where you went a whole bunch of different directions trying to figure out where to go or where you were?
Yes, all of those things are true. I definitely went like many people. So if that has been your route in life, taking like 20 different directions, that's cool. I mean, it all does, they do all meet each other at some point, and then you can start to see why, like how all those pieces fit together. And and it's just part of life. Like we're here to actually like live and experience, and that's also cool. So if you
Yeah.
are like me and you have taken 20 different roads, enjoy. Give yourself a
Yeah.
high five. Give yourself a pat on the back for living life and taking chances and following your curiosities.
Right.
So yes, that part is true. I definitely took many different roads, and I also had always had the same interest in helping people in health, in science, and there are many, many different avenues to health, and that is so cool because I have such a curious mind. So I followed many different paths when it came to healing. So the interest definitely started from living in Taiwan is I got to see I guess what we would refer to in North America as like a GP. There was something I needed
Okay.
to go see a doctor for something, and I was just so fascinated by the way that they did it. It was so different. It was so
Yeah.
different, and I thought it made so much sense. Like, they actually asked me a lot of questions,
Right.
when is really unusual. At least I'm Canadian. It's mostly unusual when you go see a doctor for them to ask you a lot of different kinds of questions. It's kind of like you just get, two or three questions and then they write you a prescription.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started going at my regular doctor. They had a thing where people who were about to finish acupuncture were basically, it was basically like, free acupuncture for people, while these people who are about to get certified are there with their teacher, kind of fine tuning everything for them to send them off into the world. And, like it was cool. They all had pads of paper, and I'd go in there every Wednesday for probably at least a couple months. And, they'd take note of everything and they'd be like asking about stuff. And like,
Mhm.
I was like, why am I seeing my doctor? This is all this what I really need. And then, um, yeah, like in the stuff they were doing, like it was actually working on what was wrong with me and what needed to be addressed and what needed to be helped. And um, yeah, I mean, I even like when I moved to Minnesota with um my health plan, they even had what part of it that was I could go to the maybe it was in Oregon too. Um, I could do like a naturopathic doctor as part of it for that, and I was totally into it, and I haven't had that since then. It's been probably 4 years or so since I've had that, but um, yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I just don't have it right now, and I miss it. Is that
Well,
something
go
you?
find it.
Yeah,
There are different opportunities and options everywhere. And yeah, they do. The practitioners have a different way. I mean, it's such an ancient system, and all of the observations mean something. So they've really learned to listen to and read the subtle cues of the body. That's the
but
varying pulses or a tongue diagnosis or even aspects of iridology and the frequency of like when you're experiencing certain symptoms. Everything has a meaning. And I just thought there was so much well, it made sense. It made so much sense. And there's so much
yeah,
wisdom in it. It certainly drew me in. Just the pure logic, actually, of it. Of course, our body is giving us cues all the time. Of course, there's meaning to those things. Yeah, we should be listening to what that is and learning the language of our body since, we live in it 24/7. We should
right.
probably learn as much as we can about it and deepen or nurture a relationship with our bodies. So I love that part about traditional Chinese medicine, and Ayurveda is also very similar. Um, so I studied science first because I don't know why. I guess I wanted to have like more of a legitimate, what I deemed a legitimate
Yeah.
path. I wanted to be like a white coat, because I grew up very poor with a single mom who had 4 kids, and she was a teenage mom. And I didn't want to
Oh,
relive that. And I wanted to have a different life. And I thought that meant if I wore a white coat, that I would have a different life and I would be respectable and successful and all of those, all of those things. And well, it
uh,
turns out you definitely don't need to wear a white coat to be respectable or successful. And I'm really grateful that I learned that. However, I did wear a white coat a few times, and it was fun.
and
And
then
yes, some of those occasions were Halloween, and some were for work. But
that's cool.
yeah.
You got to be for Halloween. You got to work, be like have the job that you were for Halloween at some point. I don't know how many people get to actually do that.
Yeah,
Um,
at least like a version of it. It's true. Well,
right.
that's a
I
that's a new thing for somebody to aspire to, right?
yeah. I
It's
mean,
a new way of vision boarding is wearing
whatever
a
you do.
costume and acting as if. Yeah.
Yeah, fake it until you make it almost.
I think we should capitalize on this idea, vision board costumes, and we should
I
sell
think
them at
so.
Halloween. It's a new business.
I think so. And then yeah, it's open to interpretation for everyone. All you need to do is just put a pad of paper or a big poster board there, and it's up to the creator to put the content on there. So um yeah, I mean, I was Pee Wee Herman for Halloween a couple times, and I mean, so that's what I got
Amazing.
to
Yeah.
grow up to be, uh, pretty much same sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I think that we don't take into account that a lot. What when we're younger, what we want to be, and then how quickly it's influenced by other things. Um,
Mhm.
I kind of go with like at 4 years old is, I think whatever you want to be then is kind of what you should be when you're older, some form of that. But I don't know. I don't know how true that is to everybody, but um, I don't think you really have that other. You're more just taking in information then, and you don't really have the ability to take it apart and really get into it and then start having other reasons of why you should like something. It's just like, I like this now. Um, but I don't know. I'm not a I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV. But
Me too. Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I thought I wanted to be one. That was the goal, but no. I may be a doctor of something one day. I've recently become interested in becoming a doctor of divinity.
What
That
what
which
what do
is
you do to be a doctor of divinity? How does that,
well
what's that
along
path
the
like?
path, spirituality has seemed like it is a missing link. So, starting off being more science oriented, which I mean, science is so deeply spiritual, actually.
Right. Right.
But you don't come to see that, I think, until well, it depends on your personality, but I didn't come to really see that right away. And then well, studying science and then moving into different traditions and different forms of wisdom when it comes to healing and learning more about the mind, learning more about the energetic system and how we're influenced by all of these different systems, then spirituality and consciousness just is a natural consequence of studying all those subjects. I mean, I've always felt a connection to spirit, to the earth, to God, whatever it is, whatever word you want to use. And to create change, to facilitate change, and to maintain change, and to expand beyond what you think is possible, and to bring you hope when you really need it most. Then spirit just enters into that equation.
So where are you trying to expand to? What are you trying to expand to?
Where
Yeah.
where am I trying to expand to? On
Yeah.
just always trying to expand into the greatest version of myself. And that comes again, like circling back to spirituality with a spiritual practice and making a daily life a spiritual practice. So I am a part of the mystery school in the part of the Sophia Code.
What's
I'm part of their
what
mystery school.
what's that?
The Sophia Code. Oh, I wish I had my book handy. It started with a book. It was written or channeled by a beautiful, wonderful woman named Kyra. And it is there. You go through different initiations, key code initiations, with different ascended masters, and we're familiar with a lot of them. Isis, um, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene,
Okay.
Kuan Yin, Green Tara, are just a few, but perhaps names that people are more familiar with. And in that mystery school, they talk a lot about how your daily practice is just a part of like your modern life. So, back in the day, you used to go to like a temple or in the mountains and meditate forever. But in our daily life, it's how do we integrate a spiritual practice in our modern daily lives so that it becomes something that we can actually maintain and sustain. And I really like that perspective and framework.
Right. And so, I mean, so okay, if there's the upside to all this, and then but like what's kind of the reverse side of this? Like, so
Mhm.
with hypnosis, like
Yeah,
there's mind control, MK Ultra,
yeah,
subliminal messaging, all that stuff. That's
yeah.
kind of the reverse side of it, the negative side of it. But then with how powerful that is, that means that there's also the other side of it, like the good side of it, that's that powerful and that strong. Um, what is that kind of in, would you say in this realm that you're speaking of, kind of the
Like a
negative
spiritual
side of,
context.
yeah, like a spiritual contest. What would you say would be the negative or is there? I mean, there has to be, but I don't know. What would you think that would be?
Well, that becomes like a really interesting question because there is and there isn't one. So there isn't
Hmm.
one. So if we are an infinite soul, and we are sovereign beings, then our experience here on the planet as a human, experiencing what it's like to be human, that's just an experience, right?
Right.
So there is no actual like negative, a big picture, big spiritual context and outlook. There's no negative experience. There's but being a human and having those experiences, it doesn't feel right or good. And it feels like it's going against some law, and there's a lot of pain and suffering and discomfort. And it feels like we're being forced into doing things that we don't want to be doing or experiencing. And part of that is true, and part of it isn't, in that we often, out of comfort and habit, and going back into hypnosis there, programming. And that programming, it means a lot of different things. Programming gets into like your social programming, your familial programming, your ancestral programming. It's all there. It's all there living within your cells. It's called epigenetics, and which ones are expressed is subject to the family that you grew up in and the environment that you grew up in. But it also comes down to choice. So it's really complicated,
Right.
but it's also really simple. Once you start to gather the information and starts to be able to make sense of things and see how all of the pieces fit together, it becomes less complicated, but it's just way more interesting than we've been led to believe. That our lives are really, really interesting,
Mm.
and how things
Right.
come about is fascinating. Like, wow, I'm influenced by my ancestral line. I'm influenced by, we often talk about past lives, but if we're talking about time, it's really a parallel life, because there is no time and everything's happening simultaneously. So it'd be like a parallel life. So you have
Right.
your ancestral human stuff, you have your parallel life stuff, and then you have all, then to a more human level, your societal programming. And
So
MK Ultra is an example of that, but that's more deep state stuff.
right. And
Yeah.
so do you do anything with I guess you call it parallel life
Past
regression
lives, parallel
instead of
lives, they go hand in hand. Yes.
right. So that's a cool way to describe it. S- yeah, I mean, tell someone that parallel life instead. Do you tell them, like, if you're working with someone, they're doing that, do you tell them afterwards or before? Like, do you say, like, you want to basically you want to see your past life, or do you want to see your parallel life? Or do you talk to them afterwards and like debrief them, asking them about saying, like, this is what's going on here, but it's also going on here, instead of this is what's going on here because this was going on here before, but instead this is going on currently in another place.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when I'm working with someone, it is my practice to allow the client to lead the session. So wherever we're going to go is because that's what they're subconsciously, consciously, super consciously ready to transmute or transform. So something that's really cool and easy for anybody listening is, if you want to be able to transform a particular part of your life easily, well, simply, it's probably not easy. Going to the gym is easy,
Huh.
but but is it? Is it?
Yeah.
Some days it
Yeah.
feels really hard. So it's
Yeah.
simple. So it's the same thing with creating any other change in your life. It's a simple action step, but it doesn't always feel easy. So just like in this session, when we're talking about parallel lives, past lives, it's pretty much always the same sequence and steps. So you can also do this with yourself at home. Notice what's coming up. And just what's coming up is often just a feeling. It can be a feeling or a thought. I can't do this. It's not good. I can't do this because I don't have enough. I can't do this. Like it's always a reason why we can't do something, right? Or
Right.
usually some negative feeling that's making us feel, not making us because we choose it actually, that it equals us feeling a certain way. So just look at your feelings and look at your thoughts. And those are clues. That is your conscious, subconscious, superconscious being telling you what's ready to be cleared. So this is the thing that's blocking you, and it's actually ready to be cleared because it's come up. So that can belong to a past parallel life. It can be something that's actually a part of your ancestral line. It could have been your great, 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 great grandmother's that's been passed down and nobody paid attention through all those generations to the same thing. But you're listening to this podcast and you're like, you're ready, you're paying attention because you're being given the cue right now to pay attention and to notice that. And it's really just as simple. I mean, we can, you can go through a hypnotic process, which is sometimes the most effective way to do it, but you can just notice I'm feeling this feeling or I'm thinking this thought and just feel it. Just acknowledge it. And because what we do is we're constantly trying to push it away. Oh, I feel I can't do this. Oh, I'm going to distract myself. I am going to maybe eat something, or I'm going to watch something, or I'm going to play a game. Usually they're really unhealthy habits. Sometimes they can feel healthy, like going for a walk or going to the gym. But either way, what we're doing is we're not actually just listening to the thought or the feeling. So if you just listen and allow the feeling to be felt, because that's why we feel feelings. We're supposed to feel
Right.
them. And then they are released. But we've trained ourselves into not feeling those feelings. And maybe it wasn't safe, like if it's an ancestral thing, maybe it wasn't safe. The culture at the time was that you could not express certain emotions. Otherwise, the consequence would be grave. And so that just becomes the pattern that's inherited by everyone. But now in North America, anyway, it's relatively safe to feel a feeling, especially in private, and just allow yourself to feel the feeling or
Yeah.
acknowledge the thought, acknowledge the pattern. And when you do that, then you set yourself free of that and you set your ancestral line free of that and your past and parallel lives. It's really as simple as that.
Yeah. And now I'm forgetting this number. I want to say it's 25 that with, uh, like if something happens to you, like if you have some traumatic experience and you don't work on it
Yeah.
and it just keeps getting passed down and passed down,
Mhm.
that it gets like into your DNA of your offspring for 25 25 generations down.
I think
Um,
it's always there until somebody clears it. But when you clear, so if I clear and heal, release, whatever word that you want to use, a incident, and in hypnosis we use this, we use the term like incidents. So when you're in a hypnosis session, basically your subconscious mind is guiding the session and taking you to an event, a time, a space, for when you experience something that then you interpreted as a traumatic experience. You gave that experience a meaning. And like most of these things, when we're working in a hypnotherapy session, are from childhood. So I know
yeah.
that you had started saying yes when you're a kid. It's because your brain hasn't fully started to function. You're still sharing your energetic space with your parents until the age of 7. But anyway, so it can be something as simple as that experience that we're going into clear, like you were at the park and somebody didn't let you play on the swing. And so then you gave the meaning to that experience that you are terrible and horrible and nobody likes you and you never get what you want. And then that becomes a subconscious program. And that becomes a thing that runs your life
Yeah.
for the rest of your life until you
Not
go
knowing
back
why.
and clear the root point, that
Yeah.
the meaning that it is that you gave that experience. And we do that every day, all day long. But it's particularly impactful when you get down to those root causes. And there's so many different tools to clear those and then reprogram. But hypnosis is, I know, that one that you use, and then
Yeah.
one that I use. But another way to do that is, like, really simply on your own, is just what I had suggested, which is just going in and looking at the emotion or the thoughts, because those are clues as to what your subconscious programming is.
And how often are people coming up to you to work on what they think is the event, this big event in their life, but then it ends up being, like you're saying, being back on the playground? That's what really the cause of this other event is, and you're not going to be able to work on that event at all until you go back and fix that one that happened when you were a kid first. That's something that you see often or anything like that?
Yeah, it's a combination of people just having no clue. I know I was one of those people where I have no idea what it could be. There are
Right.
so many, there are so many, I have no idea what it could be, or I just don't know. And then, yes, and a lot of, oh, I'm sure it was this. And then it's not that. And it is surprising, actually, how often those bigger traumatic events are not the ones that are carrying the weight as those what we would deem collectively
Right.
as something that doesn't really seem like that much of a big deal, rather than, like getting into a car accident or being abused, or often it's not those ones that carry the heaviest weight or impact, which I find actually really fascinating.
Me too. And just so often with that happening, and I don't know, because I sometimes I have a good hunch that that's what's going to happen when they come to me. Or, even if it's something, someone that wants to lose weight is usually one that I like to, because I don't like doing that one in the first place. I don't like taking on those sessions. I'll pass those off to somebody else almost
Yeah.
every time. Um, but I mean, the majority of the time, there's something. I think I've had one time, maybe two times where that hasn't been the case. But it's like, let's go back. There's why do you feel this way in the first place? And then there's something that's like, oh, shit, okay, that's something that I pushed away for a bunch of years, and yep, okay, that makes sense. That's why that's coming up, and that's why, and then it's a whole unraveling, and then there's a bunch of work. But then sometimes, a lot of times, that's important to get that point, that first point of unraveling, because then you can start working on
Yeah.
unraveling and start working on those other parts. But you can't go and do these little ones that come up afterwards. You're not going to get down to the root cause, and they're going to probably still come up until you go and really take care of those deep ones, those deep cuts.
Yes. And those are
But
the ones we need to clear, because once we clear those, then all the other ones just go with it. Yeah, you
right,
want to go get to the root always, so you can clear faster, and then you can change your life faster. You can up level your life, you can upgrade your life, you can finally move past those obstacles that seem to just always be in your way. And that comes down to really So much of it is subconscious programming. But then there also is that ancestral and parallel life, past life weight that comes into play too.
So what do you tell someone who's scared?
Of what?
Any of it, any of the process of possibly reliving the process, part of some action,
Yeah.
or
You've already lived
the
through it.
unknown.
Yeah, you've already lived through it. And this is just uh going back and like looking at something like on a screen, like a movie screen. You've already lived through the experience and you're not reliving it, you're reviewing it. Those are two different things. So
Yeah.
that's what is shared. You already did the tough thing. You already survived it. And often actually, I know when I first started, I thought we had to relive the experience. But more and more, you don't. You don't have to relive the experience. You can bypass that by just connecting to the emotions.
What do you mean there? How we explain that?
Yes. So for that reason, do I need to remember the incident? Or maybe I do remember the incident, but I don't really want to go over it again. There's a feeling that you get in your body. That's where the event is stored. So it can be stored in pictures and remembering the actual event or experience. It's also stored in your body in a feeling or a sensation. And it's stored as the feeling that we can name, right? Sadness, anger, fear, paralysis, paranoia, whatever the feeling is going in, you can just name the feeling instead. Absolute terror. Absolute terror. So you just sit with the feeling of absolute terror. And where is it? So you allow yourself to just feel the feeling and knowing that it's a feeling. So again, like if you're afraid to feel it, of course you're afraid to feel it. That's why it's still sitting in you, because it's really uncomfortable to feel terrified. But right now in this moment in your home, in this session, you're safe. Take a look around. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. Reminding yourself of all the ways and reasons in which you're safe. And then we're just feeling a feeling. And feelings are just cues. They're just cues and they're just meant to have a short lifespan. They're
Yeah.
signals, the information and feedback. So you don't have to go if it was terror and I was, beaten. I don't have to remember the whole incident and all of the details. I can just deal with the feeling.
And so are you, when you're working with your clients at this part, are you having them like, are you doing some sort of relaxation with them beforehand, or are you going right into it, or um
It depends on how long we've worked together, but I mean, it's always before I actually start the session, I'm doing a prayer and setting the container for myself and for the client and for my computer and for my office and for my home and for their home and their computer. So clearing out any interfering energies, any lower energies, and saying a prayer and asking for protection for the highest good of all.
okay.
So I'm doing that before. So, I mean, it's always great. Ritual and ceremony is a really important part of healing and especially for the subconscious mind, it's setting that space. So generally, I like to start a session either like with the client once I've done that before the call, with either saying a prayer. Usually it's actually saying a prayer or just
Okay.
doing like a quick 10-second connection. It depends on the particular flow of that day.
Do you both close your eyes, or it doesn't really matter that much, but is there eye closure in those?
Yes and no. It's up to you. But if you're moving through a particularly challenging experience, then I will generally guide you to close your eyes so that your conscious mind doesn't interfere with the process. Because we can go into judgment, like judging ourselves and thinking that we're being judged. We just need to feel the feelings. And sometimes, you can turn the cameras off. And sometimes I actually prefer phone calls over Zooms to allow for more of that, like that freedom of expression. Again, it depends on the client and what it is that they need to support them.
Yeah, I'm really happy about the um Zoom and uh
Mhm.
phone calls. Like, people need to know that, like, you can do this. You don't need to go into it like that commercial at the beginning. You don't need to
Yes, I
go. You
love
don't
your
need.
commercial. It's so
Yeah,
great.
thank you. You don't need to go into an office. You
No.
don't. You can if you really want to, but I mean, yeah, I had an office when I lived in Oregon, and that was it. And then ever since then, I haven't needed one. If someone wants to meet me somewhere, they can. But I mean, now I live in a pretty remote area. But yeah, it's great. Like, and if someone wants to just not have the camera on, and
Yeah.
just like a phone call, it's like I'm fine with that. There's like you're not going to hurt my feelings or anything. Like, if that's what's making, it's not about me being comfortable. It's about, whoever I'm working with or whoever you're working with, like having them in the best situation and best environment and headspace they can be in, and giving them all the tools to be able to work through or work on whatever it is that's happening at that moment. And it's I don't know, because I mean, like, no matter how much I think I could make an environment, a physical environment, inviting and nice, it's not going to be that way for every single person.
Yeah.
Someone else might come in, like, maybe it's cold, or maybe they don't like my pillow, or their headphones feel weird on them or something, or just let people be in their own. Everyone knows how to make themselves as comfortable as they can. And some people can always use lessons on how to be more comfortable, but for the most part, they know how they can get into their comfortable rhythm
Yeah.
as much as they know at that moment pretty easily. And stepping into a foreign environment isn't always conducive to that. So
And it's just convenient, like not having like the extra travel time. So 1 hour appointment becomes like a 2 hour plus appointment when you think about the travel back and forth. And I mean, but there also is the good part of being in person with somebody and just sharing that experience and that energy. And there's a different exchange that happens there. So
yeah,
there's benefits to both. And yeah, it's whatever the person, the client appreciates or prefers. Really, I like the digital space because then I can be wherever I want to be. Also, I have the freedom. I don't have to sustain an office and always be in the same place. I can choose to move around like you. You're moving around all the time.
yeah. And I couldn't imagine having to get sign up for a lease for a new place at
Yeah.
every time I've moved. And like, it was hard enough with the store. Like, just even that for a while. um I don't know, I'd much rather, yeah, just be able to, a laptop is a lot easier than an office, and the commute to my laptop is a lot better than, yeah, because then also, and people, like, just like you're saying, traveling to and from the place.
Mhm.
Like, let's say they're getting out, like a session ends at 4:30 in the afternoon. When people are leaving, they're like during this session, they're gonna be thinking, oh, okay, hopefully I'll get out of here right at 4:30. It's gonna give me the best chance to not have to deal with that much traffic, and I probably won't hit that much of that, rush hour or something, or just having those other thoughts, just be able to sit back and push a button, hop on, and yeah, whether if you don't want to have a camera on, just have that off, and we'll just have a phone call. It's fine by me. You can sit around in your underwear and not have to, they still like be getting work done. So I don't know, it's kind of nice to be able to have that flexibility. And if some days like maybe one of us isn't feeling good, um, still like if there's like some sort of you know uh like someone's sick, uh
Yeah, I have a cold
like
or something and
a
I don't want to
cold.
give it to you, then
Yeah,
but it's not so bad that I have to be in bed, and that way those little things don't really disrupt all of the things that you can still accomplish in a day. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or like if they're feeling like their back's hurting and they don't want to drive, uh I can stay home. I can just be like, I don't have to go anywhere, my back hurts, I don't want to do this, I don't want to go out anywhere. But now it's like, well, okay, I'm here anyway. I can just turn on a camera and go, which is kind of the same with the podcast too. Um like when I started this podcast, it was I'd have people come over to my place, but now I don't know any I don't know anybody out here, and I enjoy. I mean, when this was going on, video calls weren't really a thing. When I was having people come over to my, um, yeah, it was a weird spot. I had a spot for a while, um, in Portland, when I started this podcast, and the the road that I used to live off of was called Asylum Avenue. Um, and then
That's
they
setting the
thought,
stage right
yeah,
there.
right. And eventually, after a while, they thought that they should change the name of the street, so they just named it after the person who ran the asylum. So it eventually became Hawthorne Boulevard in Portland. But I was I had uh, like a sunroom that was built onto this house, um, for some kid that had polio. And
Hmm.
yeah, and so like that was a spot, and I would have people come over and have a couple microphones, but yeah, now it's just like push a button, got someone on, and then I'm also not limited to people that are in Portland as well. Like I got people from all over the world on
Which
here,
is
and
so fun. Yeah, I
yeah,
love
I
that
feel yeah,
international global connection. Yeah.
yeah, me too. It can be difficult setting up sometimes, but I'd much rather have that issue than having to pay someone from Australia to fly out here. And that's basically a day travel each way, like 24 hours, and then have them set up somewhere to do a 1 hour conversation and then send them back on their way, and they're
Sounds
already
fun
out.
for the person traveling. Like,
Yeah, right.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
please.
yeah. But yeah, so I like, yeah, if they had that, I don't know, 24 hours of travel. I've done some that what has been, I don't know how long that was. Probably 15 hours or so. I think that was about as far as I went. But that was a long time. That was a long 24, an extra 9 hours. I don't know how I'd do. I assume it'd be split up somewhere, but um
It's not fun. My longest trip was going to Taiwan and it was 32 hours. And
from where?
I was green from Ottawa
Oh,
So I had a couple of different changeovers. I had one in Anchorage, Alaska, and then another one in Korea. And did I stop in Indonesia as well? There was a lot of stopovers.
di-
Yeah,
what
it
route
was,
did you go?
well, from I'm Canada, like kind of East Coast-ish, especially
Yeah.
Ottawa. Um, so I went like, to me, it was the back doorway. So I flew across Canada to Anchorage, Alaska, and then we flew that way around, and then to
Okay.
Korea, from Alaska to Korea, and then from Korea, I don't remember if this was on the way home or there. I'm gonna say from Korea to Taiwan, but
Uh,
yeah, each flight was long, and then the stopovers. I was green, and my
oh,
skin was
s-
green.
oh, I thought you meant like you were new at flying
I'm
and traveling at the time, but you were literally green.
green. Yeah.
Oh, so how did that affect what you do as far as traveling after that? How did that
Oh, I love
change?
traveling. I love
What
traveling. It's fun.
what do you do now differently to not get green?
Well, I haven't had that long of like a flight trip anyways. I've had that long in a car, which is a different experience.
Was that in Canada?
That was leaving from Canada and doing a trip in the States. So, and I actually also drove from California to Toronto because that my son was born in California. And when we were driving
Whoa.
back here, we drove back to Canada, to Toronto. So
With the
I've
newborn?
had lots of car. Yeah, no, he was 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Whoa. How was that? That seems like
Uh,
that could
that's
be
a
a
whole
journey.
other, yeah, whole other chapter and a whole different book.
Yeah.
But it's really beautiful. Um, to see all of the different areas. Well, especially, I think that the United States has, I mean, it's so massive, but there are so many different types of spaces and places and cultures. Definitely seeing the different landscapes was really, really stunningly beautiful.
Do you know
Yeah.
which way you went? Like where'd you go through?
Which way did I go through? I went through because I was in I left from Palm Springs, and then I went like gosh, did I go through like Arizona,
Probably.
Utah? I mean, I've been to probably about 30 states in
Oh, okay.
my life. I've been to many states, but yeah, seeing going from like the gray snow covered mountain landscapes and moving into that more like rich red clay colored mountain, like I feel like there's like this like imaginary line. You can see the snow covered gray mountains while you're in like the beautiful clay colored mountain region that's like glowing kind of pink and red with the sun. And then, your eyes can see that completely different picture. It's
Yeah.
it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, the contrast, and how gorgeous this planet is, and how we're so blessed to have so much beauty surround us. Yeah.
Where's somewhere you want to go check out then next? Like if I don't know, someone gave you the money to go do it just today. I'm not gonna like give you money to go do this, but hypothetically, if someone was
What?
getting, yeah,
What
this
do you
it's
think we
not
do?
part of the show today. It's gonna be a new segment at the end of every show. So thought you had all this money. Is there somewhere you'd want to go check out or for a reason?
I I like more the experiences that I like to have when I travel. It's more about like the whole experience, the culture, the beauty, the food, the the whole thing and not necessarily like just the space, because I've had the good fortune of having to travel a bit in my life and have just gone to some islands and lived in different countries, and just the destinations for the purpose of like relaxing or for partying or whatever that experience is. And
Yeah.
what I have discovered about myself is that I really like a lot of different elements. So I would go back to Europe because I love the culture. I love the art. I love the food. The buildings are so gorgeous. Like they stop me in my tracks with, wow, how did they build such intricate details and so much artistic expression and creativity so long ago when they didn't have all these tools and they're just these massive structures. And they just have so much majesty. Like they radiate their own being. But
Yeah.
then when you integrate like amazing food, like as many of the cultures of the food is such a also a big part is art. And how they grow the food and how they present the food and how you eat the food. I also really love that too. So Europe
Okay.
somewhere.
Somewhere in Europe. And yeah.
Maybe Italy. Yeah, everywhere
Oh,
in Italy. I've only been to Venice.
okay.
Yeah,
What brought you there? Just,
adventure.
yeah, I want to go to Venice.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
adventure weeks. So yeah, I was living in Budapest in Hungary, and
Oh,
it was on the way to Paris. So there was several stops on the way, and that was another driving trip actually. And that was a great adventure.
home of the Da Vinci twins. Long story.
Oh.
Yeah, they're these guys. They're from Vancouver. And they had a thing. There was some video like probably 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know. It was a while ago, and they there was like so who put who painted the Mona Lisa, and they say Da Vinci, and it became this whole thing. But I mean, yeah, those guys. If you ever,
Now I
yeah,
have to check them out. Da
yeah,
Vinci, because I want to say Da Vinci, you mean?
right, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know those guys. They're I don't
They
know. I
sound
still can't.
fun.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, I don't know. I still can't tell them apart. And it's amazing. It's amazing. The nicest guys in the world. Um, but yeah, it makes me think of that. Yeah, those guys. But anyway, so enough about Da Vinci. But so then what's like the next thing? So you said you wanted to get your Doctor of Divinity.
Yeah, it seems
Um,
interesting to me. It seems like a worthwhile path. And I mean, that could change I just have begun a new journey because I'm always studying because I just really love learning. I'm always enrolled in a class. I always have a coach. I always have a therapist. I'm always
okay.
doing something. Because I just love it. It's just an authentic expression of like who I am. I'm eternally curious. So this year I have just started my third journey with the Sophia Code, and so this is a leadership program where I'm going on a journey over a year with each of the ascended masters. So we'll see where that takes me once I've completed that year-long deep spiritual journey. And I'm curious as to where that will take me. But I also want to study kung fu. I'm obsessed with martial arts, and I really want to learn weapons. And there are elements of that a practice and mastery that really support mystery school training as well.
Okay, that's I wasn't expecting that. That's okay. That's cool though. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Is there a certain kind you'd like to get into or figure it out once you're there or
Yeah,
what?
there's a couple that I really like. Well, there's certain teachers that I really like. And we'll see. I love Budokan, which is not that at all, but I love the primal movements that they incorporate and the strength and just the way that, well, they have created mastery within their own framework. I think that that's a really interesting form of martial arts.
Yeah.
But I love like the Shaolin style of Kung Fu. Master
Okay.
Shung Yi. I really like listening to Master Shung Yi, who's on the Mulligan Brothers a lot. And he has a school, but I don't really want to be doing anything online because I am home a lot. So I don't know. I don't know what that's gonna look like, but why martial arts has ties into spiritual practice mystery schools is because the practice of martial arts utilizes a lot of something in which we call like your hara, which is that center right
Yeah.
below your belly button, right? That's your strength, your center. That's where your force comes from. So any movement that you do in martial arts is if you want it to have power and you want to be using the proper correct form, you're moving from your hara. And you strengthen your hara through breath, through practice and devotion, and that connects to spiritual practice
Okay. Yeah.
also.
Yeah, the guy that taught me hypnosis was a martial artist, like back in
Oh,
the
cool.
60s or something. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the same sort of thing there. And so then is your preferred method of learning like hands-on training for the most part, or is it
I
more
like all
reading
of it.
or okay.
I like all of it, but if I'm doing something with my physical body and I really like, there's nothing like actually getting the correction from the teacher. So
Yeah.
if if my hand's like here and it's really supposed to be like this, like there's that subtle difference, but it's actually a big difference when it comes to like a striking position or how you're directing your energy. So I think I would prefer
Yeah.
to be doing that in person. I also would love to take up fencing. So we'll see. There's
Is
so many things to do. We'll
is there an
see.
academy near you?
Yeah, there's a couple.
Okay. Yeah. One time I found a like it was a like a zip down fencing club jacket, and I'd wear
Cool.
it around all the time, and everyone was because it had my name on it, and I saw it like I saw this shirt and it had my name on it when I was going through the thrift store, and I was like,
Wow.
oh, I gotta grab this. I'll grab it, and then I looked at it and it's like, oh, so whatever fencing club. I don't know if I have that shirt anymore. But so yeah, so everyone always asks me, "Oh, you fence?" Like, no,
Well,
not
now you
yet.
have to. You have
And
to
I
take it
have
up.
to.
You
Yeah,
got to earn the shirt.
yeah. Maybe one day we'll fence each
We'll
other.
fence together.
Yeah,
That would be awesome.
yeah. That's what we'll aspire to now. I mean, it has to happen now.
Yes,
So
it's a fence off, a
yeah,
fencing championship. Here we go. It's
yeah.
happening. All right. I commit to that.
Perfect. Me too. So how are people going to find you in the world, on the internet, wherever you may be?
On the interwebs is the easiest, and it's so great. I'm so lucky that it's really easy to find me because it's just Lainne, LAINNE.com. Boom,
Yeah.
shakalaka.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Boom
it's
shakalaka. Nice.
I got really, really
Yeah.
lucky. I got to buy the domain name Lainne.com and
Was
then
it
Lainne Love on social media.
was it cheap? Was it like one of the cheaper
Oh
ones, or
yeah, it
did
was
they
like years ago for I don't know. I don't know
like
what
the
cheap is, like 20 bucks
$12?
or
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
something like
wasn't
that.
one of those
Wasn't I didn't
names
have to
where it's
pay
like,
hundreds of thousands of dollars. No.
right,
No. Yeah.
yeah,
It was very
cool.
reasonable. Yeah, so I'm really, really lucky.
Yeah.
And you can find me there. And you can also find me on Amazon because I have 2 books. And
Oh,
my
okay.
second book just came out. And I have it tabbed here, actually right beside me. A Bigger
Oh,
Mission, which is pretty darn amazing. It's an exceptional book. I'm really, really proud of it. It's done really well. It's been a bestseller on Amazon in several different categories.
okay.
So you can
Congratulations.
find, yeah, thank you. You can find me on Amazon too, as I continue to write books and sell them via Amazon. It's so great to be an author now. It's never been easier to be
Yeah.
an author.
So do you use the what's it called? Amazon,
Yeah, they have a
shoot, whatever it's
publishing
called, KDP?
platform. Yes, yeah, I
Okay,
have
cool.
used that's that's a whole other podcast if people want to know how to
Yep.
publish on Amazon. It's another one of those easy slash not easy things. It takes
Right.
a lot of time to learn all the steps, and it's a great platform, but it's not a perfect platform. Um, I guess nothing in life is, right?
Right.
But
It
but
was
yes, if you
easy.
want to write a book, write one. Write one. You don't have to buy 10,000 copies of your book from a publisher now or from a publishing house. Like you can just write your book and get it up on Amazon and all your dreams can come true. You can
Yeah.
check that off of the list of things that you've done in your life,
Right. And
along
yeah,
with
they'll
fencing champion, right?
fencing. Yeah. Well, if
It's
you're
coming.
fencing, you got to be a
Coming.
fencing champion. Yeah. That's perfect. Cool. Well, thank you, Lainey. We'll get you back on in a few months if you're up for that.
That sounds great.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say you can let me know if you wanted to say no.
No,
Um,
I say yes.
all right,
It's so fun
cool.
just to hang and chat about
Yeah,
stuff and
yeah, yeah. You made my job easy. So thank you for being on, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and hopefully you get signed up for fencing.
yes, I will.
All right, all right.
Mm,
So, talk to you
Bye.
later.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you,
Yep.
everyone.
Thank you. All right, that's Lainey Love. So hit her up. I'll give you the information how. That's pretty easy, right? All you have to do is spell her name. I'll put it in the link so you know how to spell it. So thank you everyone for being here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. And that is the show, man. Right? That is the show, man. Boom!
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.